Hello everyone, Dan here from the Next Issue Podcast. On today's video, I'll be doing a review for Loki Season 2, Episode 2, Breaking Bread. This is directed by Dan DeLeve, written by Eric Martin. In this episode, with the TVA on the verge of a temporal breakdown, Mobius and Loki continue to try to find Sylvie in the branching timelines. This show stars Tom Hiddleston as Loki, Gugu Mbatha-Raw as Rabona Renslayer, Sophia DiMartino as Sylvie, Owen Wilson as Mobius. We also have Eugene Cordero as Casey, Ki Hugh Kwan as Obi, and Wimnu Musaku as Hunter B-15. So I'm going to get into spoilers pretty soon. But before that, uh, I will say the first part of this episode was a little bit underwhelming. I'll say I think after the last episode, my expectation just shot up real high. But we go into this little bit of a side story that it needs to build up before the payoff. Maybe it was the pacing of the episode. There are some really cool sequences at the beginning as well. There's just like a lull in between in the middle where I feel like they could have. There's two sequences that I feel could have been kind of put together, but other than that, this episode was a lot of fun. Uh, Pretty dark in comparison. I mean, there's a lot of bad stuff going on, as you can see, with trying to stop the 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 branching timelines from and the TVA from being destroyed. So, uh, but we're gonna get into spoilers. So if you haven't seen the episode, make sure to go check it out. So we opened in London in 1977. We've seen this at the premiere of the Zaniac movie, where we know that Hunter X5 is now posing as movie star Brad Wolf. Mobius and Loki are there to capture him after following him as he was tracking down Sylvie, right? So they know that he's kind of their only option. There's some really cool, frantic sequences of them running through like these very tight spaces, which I really enjoyed. It's also really fun to see Loki use magic again. Obviously, he can't do it in the TVA, but he could do it when he's outside of it. So that was really cool. I really enjoyed seeing his old bag of tricks, right? I think that's kind of what we love about Loki. Then Loki and Mobius go visit Obi to see what there's some adjustments or some stuff that has been done to the temp pad that X5 had with them. So they're trying to figure all that out. I will say they keep bringing up this temporal manual or the TVA manual that Obi wrote, and I'm wondering how important that's going to be. We do know that Casey's the only one at the TVA that has read it in its entirety, so that's a really fun ongoing bit. They discover as well that Miss Minutes has been helping out, or at least communicated last with Renslayer. We still haven't seen Renslayer in this episode either, which is kind of a bummer because I thought she was a great character. But it'll be nice to kind of see what the payoff is from that. They continue to interrogate X5, and it's a really interesting interrogation because he keeps reminding Loki that he's a villain and that this is all his fault. And Loki takes that very personally. So it'll be interesting to see how Loki reacts and bounces off from that. I think he's going to use that to his advantage, and he actually does later on. This is the part where I felt like they interrogated him, they took a break, and then came back with a plan. I feel like all that stuff could have been paced a little bit differently. But I think they really wanted to have that conversation between Mobius and Loki as they have they have Pi. We've seen that in the trailer as well. And they talk about like how their approach is going to be, but they also reminisce a little bit about Mobius and what his real life could be. That's something that we don't really know anything about, but we don't even know if Mobius cares. I feel like within the inside he does, but his sense of duty to the TVA really kind of keeps him there. So also, Obi continues to try to fix the temporal loom, but is denied access. So they run into another big issue there. I think this is one of my thought is that because only he who remains can unlock the doors with this temporal aura that they call. I feel like that's why they're going to go chase down this other variant of Kang. But that's just my speculation. They come back. Loki has a sequence with X5 where he uses this torture box. It's very well done. I think Tom Hiddleston is just such a fantastic character of playing like, both the charismatic but also like this threatening villain, as we've seen in previous projects. We finally figure out where Sylvie is, like, we as the viewers, we already knew, right? We saw the end credit scene. We know she's in Broxton, Oklahoma, in I think 1982, in another timeline. So they finally find her, and they pick up Sylvie. They figure out that the plan for Docs and all these other hunters that are planning to exterminate all these branch timelines. I mean, that's when things really, really escalate. Um, I will say there was a really interesting conversation as well with Loki and Sylvie. I think both actors play off each other so well. Because they are supposed to be the same entity, but obviously they're different variants. So it's just really good to see them back on screen together. Uh, they do stop. They get there in time to stop Docs from, I guess, to capture Docs, but they don't get there in time enough to stop the timelines. This is where we have one of the cooler action sequences, especially since we see Loki and Sylvie use their powers together. That's really cool. But what follows is very, very distressing, right? Docs and all the hunters that were rebelling against the TVA have pruned all these timelines. So, like, when we go back to the TVA and they're all trying to figure out what the damage was, we see that pretty much all the branch timelines have been pruned from the main sacred timeline. And now that they all know that these are real people with real lives, like, the impact is so much more. um, I think B-15, Wumney's performance is really good in that moment when it really hits. There's a really interesting shot of just everyone kind of taking everything what just happened. It almost looks like a still shot, but it's just them. They're holding still because they don't know how to react from that. So yeah, they took out pretty much all the other branches, and now they also realize that they have more things to figure out too, like, where's Renslayer, why is Miss Minutes helping her, is she working originally with with Kang, or the original Kangs, or whatever, or He Who Remains, and also how do they get those doors unlocked. They need the aura of He Who Remains, of maybe just another Kang, to save the TVA. Otherwise the TVA is going to explode regardless of what happens, right? Because the temporal loom is out of control. So, man, this was, like I said, it was a pretty long episode. It was about a full runtime of 51 minutes, but do your math with the credits. There was no end credit scene on this one, so I'm really interested to see where we go from here. It's only Loki's only gonna be 6 episodes, but this show's been so consistently good. Like, it's like from good to, like, really, really good to great. So both first episodes, I think, have been pretty good in my opinion, especially the first one. I really enjoyed it. So this one, as I mentioned, I think it took a little bit of a dip in the middle. But other than that, I'm content with where we're going in the direction of it. Uh, I love the look of the TV as we kind of keep exploring these places, these rooms that we haven't been in. It's just, it's such a lived in place. It feels so real because they use real sets for the most part, right? We're not in the dome, or what the volume, I think what it's called, where they shoot a lot of stuff, which is really cool and interesting technology, but it cannot fully always replicate the feel of a lived-in place like the TVA, specifically because of the specific aesthetic that, it's that 1950s Americana type of office space environment. So I don't know. I'm really excited. Once again, Owen Wilson, just with one look standing there, can tell you everything that you need to know. It is very, very well done, and I am very, very excited to see where we go from here. So let me know what you think is going to happen in the next few episodes. Let me know how you enjoyed this episode. As always, thank you for watching, everyone. Remember to share, like, subscribe, hit the bell so you know when we go live. That is most Saturdays, 10 a.m. Central Standard Time. Stay tuned. We have more comic reviews, trailer reactions, TV recaps, all that fun stuff here on the channel. Thanks for watching, everyone. Bye bye.